So, today we're diving into a fascinating twist in early Christian history. Marcion of Sinope. He's tossed around as a dangerous heretic, but what if he's more like the architect behind the first Christian Bible?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. It's wild to think that a ship owner from Sinope might have not only compiled a canon, but may have also shaped the very core of Christian theology.
Exactly. I mean, Marcion arrived in Rome around 140 CE and started promoting a version of Christianity that was radically different, almost revolutionary. He saw the God of the Old Testament as a demiurge, a lesser, almost legalistic deity, while the God of Jesus was pure, merciful, and completely distinct.
And that's a huge shift. It turns the whole idea of a unified God upside down. I mean, it's like he completely redefined the divine character based on his theological vision, right?
Absolutely. And get this, Marcion wasn't just spouting off ideas. He actually compiled a fixed list of scriptures. Before him, Christians used an assortment of texts, letters, gospels, apocalypses, and oral traditions. But Marcion cut through all that chaos by, streamlining a canon.
So he essentially laid down the blueprint for what would become the New Testament, even if it was a very different version, huh?
Yeah, exactly. His canon was pretty lean. One shortened version of Luke and 10 of Paul's letters, Romans, Corinthians, Galatians, and so on, deliberately leaving out the pastoral epistles.
Right. And it's intriguing how he cleansed these texts, right? I mean, he purged all those Jewish references, removed sections where Jesus might have aligned with the law or mentioned figures like Abraham and Moses. That feels almost like a complete theological surgery.
Yeah, it's like he aimed to create a pure version of Christian teaching, completely detached from what he saw as the legalism of the Hebrew Bible. And that really forced the proto-Orthodox church to think deeply about what they stood for.
Exactly. I'm curious, though, about the controversy around Paul's letters. I mean, some scholars, like Markus Vinzent and even Robert Price, suggest that Marcion might have not only edited, but perhaps even authored or shaped those letters. Isn't that a bit radical?
Oh, totally radical. Imagine this. Picture Paul emerging not as an independent apostle's voice, but as a sort of mouthpiece for Marcion's theology. That would mean that the whole narrative of salvation by grace, the rejection of the law, and faith over works might actually be, in part, Marcion's own creation.
But I have to challenge that a bit. Surely it seems a stretch to say that Marcion could have invented or heavily authored these letters that we've attributed to Paul for centuries. What's the evidence on that side?
Fair point. The thing is, we actually don't see any manuscripts of Paul's letters before Marcion's collection. His canon is the earliest textual evidence we have, which raises serious questions. Scholars like David Trobisch even argue that the first edition of what we now call the New Testament was produced by Marcion.
Yeah, that's a mind-bender. If that's so, then could we say his revisions and selections were a deliberate move to not only break away from Judaism, but to establish a new theological authority?
Absolutely. Marcion needed a version of the gospel that justified his rejection of the Jewish religious framework. By elevating Paul and censoring parts of the text that linked Jesus to the Old Testament, he constructed a narrative that was all about salvation through grace alone.
Right. And what's really fascinating is how the traditional church reacted. Marcion's bold move essentially forced the early church to define its own identity and doctrine. Tertullian, Irenaeus, and other strong critics mobilized, redacting texts, rewriting gospels, and eventually forming that classical four-gospel canon.
Yeah, it's like a domino effect. Marcion's work was so radical that the Orthodox Church felt compelled to create a counter-narrative. They re-Judaized Paul's letters, reinserted interpolations that affirmed the law, and basically said, no, this isn't the complete picture.
So, in a way, Marcion's influence is twofold. On one hand, he's the man who forged the first systematic canon, and on the other, his radical approach catalyzed the Orthodoxy's response. That means, without him, our familiar New Testament might not have taken shape as it did.
Exactly. Marcion's ghost, as some might say, still haunts the structure of our modern New Testament. He's either been labeled a heretic or, a visionary who dared to challenge the norms.
Right, and that's a tough call. I can't help but wonder, if we re-examine his contributions without the bias of later church dogma, might he be seen more as an innovator rather than just a radical rebel?
Definitely. It's like, when someone dares to do something unexpected, they get branded one way or the other. Marcion redefined the script, and even if his approach disturbed the established order, his influence forced the early church to clarify what it meant to follow Jesus.
Yep. And there's that fascinating question of identity. Marcion's dichotomy between the demiurge of the Old Testament and the benevolent God of Jesus has arguably shaped agendas that resonate even today. Remember all the debates about the nature of the divine?
Yeah, indeed. It's like his dualism sparked a fire, forcing believers to ask, who is God really? And why should we accept these scriptures as the complete truth? Church leaders, in response, redacted the texts, ensuring that the God depicted in the Old Testament was, in fact, reconciled with the one of the New Testament.
Mm-hmm. That kind of reaction from the church is almost like a defensive maneuver, wouldn't you say? They basically said, we see your game, Marcion, and we're going to fix it.
Totally. They went to great lengths, editing the Gospel of Luke, further compiling the canon, and solidifying the narrative that we now recognize as Orthodox Christianity. It was a classic case of creative evolution forced by controversy.
Yeah, no doubt. But here's another angle. If Marcion's version of Paul's letters was so influential, and if his canon was the first, then isn't it possible that what we believe as Paul's voice is partly Marcion's authored weight?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's hard to prove definitively, but the lack of any document or text from independent Pauline sources before Marcion is a glaring clue. It's like the original manuscript might have been lost or never existed outside his version.
Right, that's compelling. So we're potentially looking at a scenario where Marcion's need for apostolic authority directly influenced or even produced the scriptures we hold sacred. That's both exciting and a bit unsettling.
Absolutely unsettling, yet revolutionary. It reminds me of that analogy. It's like when you have an artist who really reimagines the blueprint for a building, and afterward, everyone else builds around that vision, some even trying to secretly undo it.
Yeah, exactly. I love that analogy. And it certainly highlights how controversies in tradition can lead to something greater than the sum of its parts. Even if Marcion's work was challenged, his impact is undeniable.
Right? His work laid the groundwork for debates that continue to this day. Is the God of the Old Testament the same as the God of Jesus? Who truly authored the Pauline letters? And what does it mean for a canon to be truly authoritative?
Absolutely, yeah. And when you think about it, this isn't just history. It shapes how modern scholarship interprets the evolution of religious texts. What we now consider orthodox might really be a dynamic, reactive process in response to radical ideas like Marcion's.
Exactly. And that's why revisiting Marcion's role is so critical. His legacy is a reminder that challenging established norms can create an entirely new framework, one that forces growth, adaptation, and even renewal within a tradition.
Mm-hmm. Yet, we also have to acknowledge that there were significant downsides to his views. His outright rejection of the Hebrew Bible and his dualistic worldview might have also paved the way for disjointed understandings of the nature of God. Doesn't that destabilize the foundation of a unified faith?
I get that, but think about it. Orthodoxy itself emerged because of these challenges. Marcion's radical ideas forced mainstream thinkers to refine and solidify their positions. In a way, his disruptive influence was necessary, even if it came with some theological upheaval.
Yeah, that's a strong point. So while he's often painted as a heretic, maybe he was more like a catalyst, a visionary who, by shaking up the status quo, essentially shaped the course of Christianity.
That's the crux of it. Without his provocative ideas, we might never have seen the formation of an official New Testament canon or the vigorous defenses of what we now call Orthodox faith. His shadow looms over every debate about Scripture and authority in early Christianity.
Right on. It's really a testament to how a single individual can radically alter the course of history. And it definitely challenges our conventional narrative of who gets to write history.
Exactly. And it reminds us that history isn't static. It's a conversation, a back and forth of ideas, revisions, and reactions. Marcion's legacy, controversial as it may be, is an integral, albeit complex, part of that dialogue.
Well, this discussion certainly gives a whole new perspective on early Christianity. It seems, if you ask me, Marcion was as revolutionary as he was polarizing, a true maverick whose influence is still felt today.